Well, hello crafters. We are taking these cardboard tubes that my husband picked up at work and we're going to make jumbo crayons. Our idea with this is we wanted to make some type of fun little home decor that incorporated the kids' names, and you'll see how that comes into play in a little bit. And of course, I used my Cricut to do this. So we took some cardboard boxes. This was an Amazon box because it was a little bit thicker than a cereal box, and we wanted to use this to create the bottom of the crayon to kind of cap the end. So we traced it and then we cut it out. Then we're just hot gluing the bottom on there. And then for the top, we went to the dollar store and just got some disposable cups. Now the ones we picked are kind of like paper cups. That way it's easier to paint and it kind of matches the color or the texture of what's underneath. These ones are really cool too because they kind of have that ribbed bit you'll see as we put it on, so it does look like the tip of the crayon when you would open a crayon box, like a brand new unused crayon. You know how they have that flat bit? So this is perfect. We're gonna go ahead, hot glue it on, and my husband decided to stick his foot in my aesthetic shot, so that was great. I feel like the trickiest part of this whole project was trying to mix the paint colors to get the color we were going for. We got 4 poster boards to wrap it, which you'll see shortly. We wanted it to be like an actual crayon where the underneath is a little bit of a different color than the actual wrap. So we really tried to match it with colors and paints that I already had at home, which proved to be a little bit tricky. The colors we decided to do were green, blue, yellow, and we tried to do pink, but I guess in the end it kind of looked a little bit red. We do want to go back and do one more, probably a purple one for like our last name, and we thought that would be super cute. But anyway, for now we did 4 for each one of our kids. And when we're painting it, we just used a sponge brush that we had from the dollar store. We did have to do a couple coats because of the logo on the cup showing through. And then we just decided to paint just kind of the top and the bottom because the rest will be wrapped. So there was no point going in and painting the whole thing, okay? It actually took a lot of paint, more than I expected. And I think for some of them we did have to do a third coat. I think for the yellow and the pink, a third coat over the logo just to cover it. Now for the poster board, we're just using my large Cricut mat to trace out the size that we need for the wrap. We didn't want to wrap too much of it, and we're going for that real crayon vibe where the wrap kind of overlaps, and you'll see where that comes into play. Now I'm hopping over to my computer to create the design. So I went on Creative Fabrica. Y'all know I use it all the time, and I will leave the file that I used down below. They do also have 10 free downloads, so just try the free downloads out, see if you like it, and go from there. I went ahead and I downloaded this Crayon SVG. It is tricky to get a Crayola SVG, obviously, for copyright reasons. So I decided to make my own, okay? We're just gonna go with it. So I'm going to upload that into Cricut Design Space by pressing upload. I'm going to do upload image, browse, and then I'm pressing on the unzipped file in my folder. Make sure you unzip it. You're gonna right click on that downloads folder that you just had on the little file. You're gonna hit extract all and extract, and that's gonna unzip your file. So now I'm opening this up. Since I'm creating my own version of a Crayola SVG, I knew what font I wanted to use because I did play around with it a little bit before. So I'm looking for the Comic Sans MS font. This turned out perfectly for the vibe I was going for. I'm going to overlay this on top, and then I'm going to highlight over everything and slice. Now you need to make sure with slice that there's only 2 layers being highlighted. So if it is showing that it's not allowing you to slice, then you need to just weld or attach all of your layers first, and then you'll be able to go ahead and slice it, okay? So you can see here I'm welding everything so that I'm able to go over top and give it a good little slice here as well. So this separated all of the pieces because I want to use the least amount of vinyl possible. So I wanted the squiggly lines separate from my little Crayola logo. I needed it all to be separate so that I'm using the least amount of vinyl for the most of my project. And this is just me showing you the look that I'm going for. So I'm putting the yellow behind to make sure that the Crayola is showing through like a crayon would do. So that's just kind of me showing you what it's going to look like, but I'm not actually going to be using the yellow piece to cut out on my Cricut. So now that I've made sure that it is how I want it, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And then I am ready to make it. I've sized it to where I need it to be. I'm going to make it. Now the vinyl we were using is leftover vinyl from when we were wrapping our car. Yes, vehicle car wrap vinyl. Well, it's from Amazon, so it's kind of just regular vinyl. We were trying to make this project on a budget, but what I would suggest is using permanent adhesive vinyl. I would suggest using Oracle 651, maybe TeckWrap. There's tons of other ones, but Oracle 651 is the one I lean to the most for permanent adhesive vinyl when it comes to black and white colored vinyl. If you're looking for a colored vinyl, I recommend TeckWrap. They have the most variety of colors. It's amazing. So highly recommend you check that out. And then if you live in Canada, I know it is kind of annoying to order vinyl from the States when you live in Canada because you have to pay duty, like myself. So I recommend you check out Craft Vinyl because you can still get things like TeckWrap and stuff from Craft Vinyl. Just like a limited, I guess, selection, if that makes sense. So if you're in Canada, check that out. Here, I let my husband struggle as he tried to figure out how to lay vinyl on a Cricut mat. He was really eager to learn how the Cricut worked, and he's watched me do it in the past, but he's never done it himself. So he wanted to kind of play around with it and see how it would work. And this is that car wrap vinyl that I was telling you about. And the issue we had was I mistaked it for Oracle 651 because we also used Oracle 651 to wrap our car. We had 2 bundles, and I guess I just assumed that's what it was when I was cutting it. I didn't check that it was that one. My husband just brought it up from the garage when I asked for it. So he didn't know what I was talking about. I thought he grabbed the other one. When I went to cut it the first time, it did not cut all the way through, but I'd already unloaded my mat. And if you don't know, if your mat is still loaded in your Cricut and it doesn't cut all the way through, you can just press to cut again and it will cut the exact pieces again. But if you unloaded your mat and then go ahead and load it back in, it will not cut in the exact same spot over again, even if you haven't lifted the vinyl, okay? It's just how it is with the Cricut machine for now. So that's your little tip. Always, before you unload it, check that it cut all the way through. Otherwise, it's essentially a wasted product like it was here. So I did that a couple rounds, and then finally I got it right, like the 3rd time. And here I am just weeding it out because it was a thicker vinyl. It was a little bit trickier to, I guess, work with, but I liked the fact that it's thicker because I feel like this will last longer. We're wanting to keep these projects long term, so when we move, we want to bring them with us, and we want to hang them from the roof. So we bought little hooks to hang them as well, and I will show you when that's all done how it went. Here I am just weeding it out, and then I'm going to overlay my transfer paper, or my transfer tape, sorry, for this one. For the other pieces, the squiggles you saw, I just went in with my hand and my weeding tool and did it because it was pretty straightforward, but for the Crayola part, I wanted everything to stay in place, so I just decided to use some transfer tape. Y'all know I reuse my transfer tape. That is my biggest tip for you, just to reuse your transfer tape as much times as you can until it's not sticky anymore. At the beginning, I didn't know this tip, and I would throw out my transfer tape every single time after using it, which is just so cringy to think about now, the amount of money that I wasted. And I was buying the expensive transfer tape back then. Don't do that. I buy the Duck brand shelf liner contact paper off of Amazon. It is clear, it has grid lines, it's perfect. I've used this for years, probably like 5 or 6 years now, if not more. And I've never looked back. I'm obsessed with it. For this part, we did cover up our table with this painting tablecloth we have. It's just kind of a dollar store tablecloth that we use for craft projects. And that's because we are going to be using adhesive spray glue. So we're setting that up. And for here, the tricky thing was getting it in the right position. So we thought taping it would be good because this part would be covered anyways when you wrap it. So all we did was we went ahead and we taped the little corners, and then I went in with a long piece of tape to hold it on there really good. So you'll see me doing that right here. And then we got this spray glue from Michael's. So all we're gonna do is do one little layer, and then you had to wait a minute for it to get super tacky and then roll it on. So we did a little bit, waited a minute, rolled it, and then did another piece, waited a minute, rolled it, and that was the best way to get it to stick on there really well. So you can see I'm going really slow. I'm trying to get like that really tight roll as well because I don't want this coming up. So we repeated this step over and over until the end. And in the end, we noticed that we needed something a little extra to hold it. We did go back and forth on what type of thing we were going to use to stick this down. We were going to do hot glue, but I didn't want the bead to show through. So at the end of the wrap, that's going to be on the back side. You're not going to see that when these are hanging or when these are displayed. So we decided to do a bead of hot glue on the end. That way it's fully sealed and we know it's not going to be peeling up anywhere. And that was the most effective that we found to still make it look okay and not too noticeable, but enough that it's not a big deal. And again, like I said, the wrap, we intentionally made it not perfectly line up as a crayon would do. It kind of has the wrap at the end that sometimes folds over, you know, it's not perfect, and that was the vibe we were going for. Now, I wanted to add names to this, and we went back and forth if we were going to incorporate like the color, if we were going to do the color name, what we wanted to do, but we knew we wanted to have the kids' names on there in some way. So we went ahead and we just created this little, I guess, cut file with a name and then a color or something that it would be similar to that color. I just used a pretty generic font, so I didn't think I would show how I did this because it was pretty straightforward, and then I'm just cutting it out as well on vinyl. But like I said, I'm using the light cardstock setting because I'm using that car wrap vinyl, so I need something that's gonna really cut through. Please don't use that setting if you're not using car wrap vinyl like me, which I doubt you are. Anyways, I'm cutting it out on my Cricut, and then all I'm doing is doing the little transfer for it. This was really easy to do, and I thought it would be easier to do once it was wrapped. That way I can see where I want to lay it, because I want it to be showing when it's displayed. So I had to find the perfect spot to lay it, hence why I needed it to be wrapped before I did it. As you can see, I lost one of the letters, and that's okay if that happens. Just turn it around, stick it back down, and you're good to go. A lot of times when I'm doing transfers like this, I use my hands instead of the scraper. I feel like your hands can really get good, I guess, coverage, because you're able to obviously do them around a surface that is circular like here, whereas your scraper is going to be more straight. So though the scraper is awesome, I really like using my hands, my fingers, as you can see, to lay on and transfer any type of adhesive vinyl, whether it's on like a cup or something like a bucket, something that's a little bit more circular. It works really great to just use your hands and make sure it's pushed down. So that is pretty much it, how we made these crayons. It turned out way better than I expected. I honestly did not have that high of expectations for this project, and I thought it would kind of look not that great, but I'm thoroughly impressed with how these turned out. They're so cute. We're really proud of them. And yeah, let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe for all of your crafty and Cricut tips, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Happy crafting. Bye for now.